Rachel's getting engaged. My father's voice rang through the speakerphone, brimming with pride he'd never wasted on me. To the CEO of Stratify Labs. Can you believe it? I glanced at the pitch deck I'd been reviewing before his call. Stratify Labs, a mid-tier SaaS company drowning in operational losses and clinging to buzzwords like AI-led optimization to impress oblivious investors. The wedding will be in Napa Valley, he continued, like I was supposed to be dazzled. Of course, don't worry about the costs. We know things are tight with your job situation. My job situation. That was their delicate way of describing my decision to leave a Fortune 100 role 4 years ago to build my own tech advisory firm in Austin. They never quite got it, especially since I kept my ownership low profile, hiding behind shell entities and silent partnerships. I can handle it, Dad. There was a pause. Then came the inevitable sigh. Oh, Claire, when are you going to stop playing startup and do something real with your life? Rachel's the youngest director at Covexa Capital, and now a CEO fiancé. Meanwhile, you're freelancing. I looked around my downtown penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows, clean minimal decor, and the subtle satisfaction of knowing I'd outgrown their approval a long time ago. The engagement party felt more like a corporate merger announcement than a celebration. Vineyard lights twinkled across the hillside venue. Everything about it screamed curated wealth. And there she was, Rachel draped in silk, wearing a smug smile and a diamond that could fund a seed round. Claire, she greeted with thinly veiled surprise. Didn't expect you to show. You didn't even RSVP. Plans cleared up, I said simply, sipping my champagne. Her eyes traveled to my outfit. Oh, I thought you'd wear something more you, she smirked. It is me, just understated. Let me introduce you to Thomas, she beamed, grabbing the arm of a tall man approaching in a navy suit. Thomas Grayson, my fiancé, CEO of Stratify Labs. He extended his hand. Ah, Claire, Rachel's sister. She said you do some kind of tech advising? Something like that. Rachel giggled. Yeah, she helps out with startups and such. Thomas was just talking about his company's new funding round. I smiled. Yes, I've heard. Valuation adjustments, Series B stretch, must be exciting. Thomas blinked. Wait, how do you... I cut in smoothly. My firm was one of the principal reviewers on your acquisition bid. You'll see our name on the paperwork, under Cascade Holdings. We finalized the deal yesterday. His face dropped. Rachel looked between us, confused. Wait, what do you mean? I said, draining the last of my glass. I own controlling interests in Stratify Labs. Congratulations, sis. Looks like you're marrying up. And with that I turned toward the vineyard lights, leaving Rachel speechless and Thomas frozen, hands still half raised. That job, indeed. I took a slow sip of champagne, letting the bubbles disguise the grin tugging at my lips. There would be no expansion, not under Thomas's leadership anyway. Claire never really understood business, Rachel said to the couple beside her. She's more small-scale, tech projects and things. If only she knew. While she was busy curating her Pinterest-perfect wedding, I had been orchestrating the acquisition of her fiancé's crumbling company. Stratify Labs had been circling the drain for months, and Cascade Holdings, my firm, had been preparing to step in. Actually, I said smoothly, I'd love to hear more about these expansion plans. Thomas straightened his tie and launched into a well-rehearsed monologue. Market dominance, vertical integration, predictive automation, the usual buzzwords. Not a single mention of the declining user base or the 3 consecutive quarters of negative cash flow. Fascinating, I murmured. Across the room our father raised a toast to Rachel's brilliant future. The pride on his face didn't even flicker in my direction. Isn't it? Rachel chimed, clearly oblivious. Thomas says I'm a natural for the board. After the wedding, I'll be helping with strategic oversight. Of course she would. He needed her family's social connections he thought still flowed through my father. What he didn't know was that most of those connections had quietly migrated to me. The evening wore on in a haze of imported wine, forced laughter, and polished toasts. Every few minutes, someone would approach Rachel to gush over her brilliant match while offering me that faint smile reserved for underachievers and black sheep. Near the bar, my father leaned in. "I could still get you placed," he said, voice low. "Covexa, maybe, or a partner firm, something with structure, something real." I glanced at the messages on my phone, 2 CEOs, 3 VPs, and a private equity director asking when I'd have time to review their decks. "I'm exactly where I want to be, Dad." He frowned. "You could have been like Rachel." I almost laughed. Rachel, who didn't even realize the board she was about to join would be chaired by her sister. Rachel, who would be introduced to Cascade's new executive leadership during the wedding reception she thought would be the crowning jewel of her year. As I moved toward the exit, Rachel caught up with me. "Claire, I've been thinking," she said, slipping her arm into mine. "After the honeymoon, maybe I can help you get something more secure. At Stratify, maybe an analyst role to start." I looked at her, really looked. Flawless makeup, designer heels, carefully choreographed joy. She had no idea what was coming. I smiled. "Thanks, Rachel. I'll think about it." Because in just a few weeks, when she stood at the altar and toasted her future, she'd also be unknowingly celebrating mine. She just didn't know I'd be the one signing her CEO's next paycheck. "Thanks, Rachel," I said softly, "but I think I'll stick with what I have." Driving back through the quiet streets of Austin in my modest hybrid SUV, deliberately chosen to keep appearances low, I let a small smile rise to my lips. Let them think I was stuck. Let them whisper about the sister who never quite measured up. Let them pity me. For now. Back in my penthouse, I poured a glass of Cabernet and settled into my office, where floor-to-ceiling windows bathed the room in amber twilight. I opened my laptop, composed a brief message to my board, and hit send. Proceed with the Stratify acquisition. Timeline, 3 weeks. Target date. Wedding day? Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's quiet. It's calculated. It's watching them believe they've won, until the moment you prove they were never even playing the same game. And Rachel's wedding would be that moment. I picked up my phone. "Send me all recent meeting logs from Thomas Grayson," I texted my assistant. "And prep legal for announcement protocol." Everything was in motion. I just had to wait. The Hillcrest Vineyard in Napa was transformed into a scene straight out of a bridal magazine. Rows of white blossoms, candlelit walkways, a string quartet playing as sunset kissed the hills. Rachel, glowing in her couture wedding gown, was center stage in front of 500 swooning guests. And me? I was seated at table 18, near the back, naturally. My phone vibrated once. A single line lit up the screen. "Acquisition finalized. Congratulations, Miss Caldwell." I took a breath, lifted my champagne flute, and waited. Near the head table, Thomas stood and tapped his glass. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice smooth and practiced, "thank you for being here on the most important day of my life." He took Rachel's hand. "Today, I not only gain a wife, I gain a partner in every sense. I'm thrilled to announce that Rachel will officially join Stratify Labs as our new Chief Marketing Officer." Applause echoed through the vineyard. My father looked like he might burst from pride. My mother dabbed her eyes with a silk handkerchief. Rachel, beaming, stepped forward. "I'm so excited to take on this role," she said, her voice poised. "And under our leadership, I know Stratify will soar to new heights." I glanced at my watch. 2 minutes to market close. Then, right on schedule, buzz. I read the headline in real time. Cascade Holdings acquires Stratify Labs in $250 M deal. CEO and chair revealed, Claire Caldwell. As if orchestrated, Thomas's phone rang. His expression shifted mid-sentence. He stepped away to answer it, his brow furrowing as he listened. Rachel looked confused. "Thomas?" But he was already walking faster, clutching his phone. Guests looked around. I sat back, sipping champagne, watching the scene unfold like the final act of a silent play. And Rachel? Still standing there, thinking this was her spotlight. She had no idea the lights had already shifted. They were on me now. Confusion, shock, disbelief. Thomas ended the call, his hands trembling slightly. Rachel leaned in, concerned. Thomas? What's wrong? His voice cracked. Stratify. It's been acquired by Cascade Holdings. He blinked in disbelief. They bought controlling interest? But that deal wasn't. It was, I interrupted, stepping forward. My heels clicked against the marble as the entire ballroom slowly turned toward me. Finalized 20 minutes ago, just as the market closed. The music faded to a hush. Rachel looked from me to Thomas, her eyes darting like she couldn't process what was happening. How do you even know that? Thomas demanded, still gripping his phone. I reached into my clutch and pulled out the card I rarely used. The real one. Claire Caldwell, founder and CEO. Cascade Holdings. Rachel's face lost all its warmth as her makeup, flawless until now, cracked under the strain of disbelief. No, she whispered. You're lying. You work at some little consulting place, some back-eshin tech gig? That little firm, I said evenly, was Cascade. I built it quietly while you were busy mocking my career and collecting titles for prestige. I turned to Thomas. And as of this morning, you'll find a resignation letter in your inbox. It's already been processed and accepted by the board. A ripple of whispers surged through the room. Someone gasped. My mother dropped her champagne glass. My father looked like he'd been struck across the face. You can't do this, Rachel shrieked, her voice cracking as she clutched her gown like it could anchor her to the reality she'd imagined. This is my wedding. My moment. I tilted my head. Actually, I can. And that CMO role you were so excited about? The board has some concerns, nepotism being one of them. We'll be moving in a different direction. Thomas slumped into his chair, his polished image unraveling as quickly as his career. I took another sip of champagne. Those expansion strategies you pitched at the engagement party? I said lightly. They're what convinced me Stratify needed a change in leadership. You handed me your weak points on a silver platter. Rachel stormed over, grabbing my arm, her bridal manicure digging in. Why would you do this? She hissed, her voice raw. I gently peeled her fingers off. Remember last Christmas, when you told everyone not to expect much from me because my job was pathetic, that it was probably a temp gig? You all laughed. I met her eyes. Well, consider this my wedding gift, a lesson in humility. From the edge of the room, my father finally spoke. Claire, all this time, you were building an empire? I finished for him, my voice calm. Yes, and in that moment, surrounded by stunned silence and shattered egos, I didn't just reclaim my place in the family, I redefined it. While you were lamenting my wasted potential, I said evenly, I was building Cascade Holdings into one of the most powerful private equity firms in the country. We closed over $50 million, 0 cents in revenue last year alone. My mother swayed slightly, gripping the back of a chair for support. The apartment, the clothes, the car, they were choices, I continued, straightening the collar of my minimalist black dress. I didn't need to perform success, I just needed to be ready when the moment was right. And what better moment than my dear sister's wedding? The ballroom was chaos now. Guests murmured and stared, fingers racing across their phones. A quick search of Cascade Holdings revealed exactly who I was. My face, my name, my empire. Rachel's dream wedding had become a headline in the making. Security, she screamed, turning to the staff. Get her out of here. I smiled. No need for that. I turned, my voice carrying. I own the property, I said simply. Purchased Hillcrest Vineyard last month through a holding company, just for today. The whispers turned into stunned silence. To all of you, please continue enjoying the celebration, I added. The champagne is excellent. I selected it myself. I walked toward the exit, calm in the storm. Behind me, I heard my mother call my name. I didn't look back. 10 years of dismissal, of mockery, of being told to be more like Rachel. All of it led to this perfect symmetry. One moment of silent, poetic justice. Outside, my driver opened the door to the black Bentley. No more modest cars. No more hiding. Where to, Miss Caldwell? The office, I replied, slipping into the back seat. We've got a company to restructure. My phone buzzed constantly. Notifications from news outlets, desperate voicemails from family, Rachel's increasingly unhinged texts. I turned the phone off. Let them spin. Let them struggle to understand how the sister they'd written off had become the most powerful woman in the room. Let them realize that every dismissive comment, every "you're wasting your life," was just them digging their own professional graves. Monday morning. I sat in my corner office on the 34th floor of Cascade Tower, overlooking downtown Austin. Across the street, Stratify Labs employees filtered into their building, unaware that half of their senior staff would be terminated before noon. My assistant stepped in. "Your sister and parents are downstairs. They've been here since 7. "Tell them," I said without turning from the window, "the CEO is in meetings all day." "And Claire," she added with a small smile, "should I send the new org chart?" "Yes," I said, "the one showing Rachel's CMO position removed entirely." "That's cold," she whispered. "No," I said, finally facing her. "That's business." I picked up a photo frame from my desk, the last family Christmas, where they laughed at my little tech job. I dropped it into the trash. Success isn't always about proving people wrong. Sometimes it's about timing, showing them when it matters most that you were right all along. And as Stratify's stock soared under Cascade's control, as Rachel's carefully constructed world fell apart, as my parents came to grips with the truth they'd ignored for years, I knew one thing without a doubt. The job they mocked had become their dead end. And I had become what they never saw coming, their boss. For anyone who's ever been doubted by their own family, I see you. I was you. I was the one they brushed off at dinner parties, the one whose success didn't look the way they wanted it to. But while they were busy mocking my dead-end job, I was quietly building an empire. And when the time was right, I let the truth speak for itself. If my story resonated with you, drop a comment below. Tell me, have you ever been the underdog in your own family? Have you ever chosen the quiet path, the one no one understood? I want to hear your story. Your words could be the spark someone else needs to keep going. And if you're still in that chapter where they don't believe in you, don't worry. You don't need their belief to succeed, you just need your own. Keep your head down, build with purpose, and when the moment comes, stand tall. Support people who are still building, show love to those walking the hard road, and remember, you don't need to prove them wrong with arguments. You'll prove them wrong with results, just like I did.